What is going on, everybody? We are back again for State of the Franchise episode. We got a lot to talk about today. The San Francisco 49ers win streak is still alive. It was close there, Jason, but we'll get into it all after this. Let's go. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now. That intro still
hardest intro on YouTube. Don't at me.
That's going to be basically how we open the show for the next month is hardest intro out there. But how are we feeling, Jason? What are the vibes heading into this week? Getting the dub after the Raiders.
Big Giants fans this week. I'm gonna go break out a Giants jersey and watch that while they're playing while the San Francisco 49ers are playing. Understand that Brian Daboll's probably going to rest some players, but hey, I'm still going to be rooting on those G-men. Let's go G-men.
Did he say – I saw something, I don't know if it was recent or not. It might have been a couple days ago that he wasn't going to rest players, but do you think he will?
It was right after the game, Brad. So you have to imagine the emotions of putting this team in the playoffs and everything that's going on, right? Like you feel like you can take over the world. And he was like, we're not resting anybody. You can rest at the end of the year. Then I think when cooler heads prevailed, he started to think – yeah, you know what? Maybe we should rest our guys so we're going into this game full strength. So whether that means a half of them, whether that means none of them, as of right now, Vegas has them with the same spread as the San Francisco 49ers, which is 14 points, which implies that Vegas believes that Jalen Hurts is going to play and that you're not going to see many of the Giants starters. So we're just hoping for some wacky stuff to happen. You know, regardless of who's going to be out there, you got to keep your fingers crossed because if the Eagles do fall and the 49ers take care of business, they will have next week off and will be able to rest. So, yeah, I mean, just got to hope for the best.
Right. We want that number one seed, and we are going to be Giants fans this week against the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is officially limited in today's practice, which is a good sign for him. Do you think the Eagles take a similar approach and it's a battle of the backups and they let Gardner Minshew go out there one more time? Or is it kind of a situation where they dropped two in a row and they don't want to lose that by any fluke or anything like that? Does Jalen Hurts play? Do they keep their starters out until maybe the game is manageable? Like, how do you think the Eagles handle that game?
I think that you're going to see Jalen Hurts because he hasn't played. You don't want his first action to be 3, 4, 5 weeks down the line in the playoffs, right? So there's a way for him to play a few series, put the game out of reach, and then bring in Gardner Minshew and manage it that way. But I would imagine that getting live reps for Jalen Hurts while keeping him healthy, while winning the game, I don't know how you do all those things. That's why I'm not a coach. But I would imagine that's the Eagles' strategy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Shout out to chat legend DJ popping in saying smash that like button. Shout out to all the SDS and the Spicy Squad because as you guys know, we're streaming on both our channels. Make sure you go like it up on both videos. But, you know, I think when we look at, and we'll get into the Raiders game, but when we look at the Cardinals game, right, not a ton of implications outside of potential seeding. Again, you don't want to lose the game because you don't want to drop maybe out of the second seed. You're trying to potentially have things line up for you to get the first. But, you know, going into this game, like, what do you think the vibe is for the 49ers? Like, do you think they're going to be potentially resting? What do you think the vibe is going into that game?
I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think they'll know a little while into the game what the situation is going to be, even though the Eagles are going to be playing at the same time. They'll be able to scoreboard watch a little. If that game is 28-0 and the 49ers are well ahead, I think you start to see a little bit of shuffling. So the Eagles and the 49ers are in similar situations, trying to hold on to their spot and also trying to keep their team healthy rolling into the playoffs. And I have my special announcer here. Avery, do you want to add anything about what's going on with the 49ers? Or are you going to go as Super Y? All right. Say hi.
She gonna drop the Bosa shrug on us?
Say hi. Say hi. All right. Go
hi,
on Super
really?
Y. Go. Go on Super Y. Can you get her?
Thanks, Mike.
This show is always better when we get a kid appearance on the show. It really is.
At least one, right? Yeah. She just it's when she sees the light on and everything, she's just drawn to it. So don't mind her.
It's showtime.
Guys.
She knows Daddy's working, so she wants to go see what's up.
I thought I did the right thing. I took her after school, right, to get some pizza, and I was like, "Oh, she'll leave me alone. Put her with some grapes. Put Super Y on." But nope, she just jumps right over. But yeah, hey,
Dad vibes Daddy all the time. She wants to come see what's good with Daddy. Let's go, baby.
Dad
you'll love to see it.
Everybody's saying nice things about it. Really, yeah, she's doing great.
Yeah, superstar, man. And of course, we got some other superstars to talk about. Nick Bosa's coming into this game. Now, don't think he filled up the stat sheet against the Raiders like, we all were hoping for, because, again, we've been talking about the 20-piece all year, wanting to break the franchise record set by Aldon Smith at 19.5. But, I mean, he made his presence felt there. Let's work our way backwards, right? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that last play that basically got the 49ers the ball. The Raiders come out, force overtime. They win the coin toss. I know how I was feeling. How were you feeling at that point? And what was it like watching Nick Bosa just drive Colton Miller back into Stidham and force that interception?
Big players make big plays, right? And that's how you close out games. You close it out with the run game. You close it out with the pass rush. You mentioned not filling the stat sheet. I mean, the only player with 10-plus pressures in 2 games is Nick Bosa. I mean, he had 10 pressures. So he didn't fill it with sacks, but he was around the quarterback what's the guy's name? Jarrett Stidham. He felt him all game. And, again, just walking him back, you see the ball go up. This was the part that I found most interesting. The ball goes up, and then you see from another angle, Nick Bosa's got his hands up like he knows it's going to be caught. Nick Bosa, it's awful presumptuous of you, buddy. But, hey, I love the confidence, right? Yeah, look. Again, we don't want to harp on, watch the game, all that stuff. But, if you looked at certain stat sheets, you would sit there and say, well, this person had no impact. Well, Kerry Hyder on back-to-back plays helped swing this game, right? And he wasn't exactly filling the stat sheet. Eric Armstead had a few plays where he really saved some things, but he wasn't filling the stat sheet. So, again, I think you'll really understand a player's performance, not just by stats, but by what goes on in the game. Give me a second.
Yeah, I got you. Or as, our good friend Rich Madrid would say, watch the tape. And you watch the tape, you're going to see the impact. And a great point by Kerry Hyder, man. He did such a phenomenal job of getting into that passing lane, basically taking the football right to the face mask and pop that thing up. And Drake Jackson comes down with his first career interception. So, it's a team effort, right? This was, I think, also, when we talk about the good stuff, we can also say there were probably lapses on all 3 phases. We saw a missed field goal that would have potentially won the game. We saw a missed field goal. Let's go. Victory lap it. Let's go.
I'm not victory lapping anything. I'm pissed. I don't want a victory lap. What the hell? I don't want look. My kickers don't matter agenda has never been stronger, but I don't want it at the expense of Robbie Gould. And I don't like being right about this. I really don't, man. It's just now he's missed more field goals within 50 yards. The only person who's missed more recently was a guy by the name of David Akers. The only thing that gives me calm is that the year that David Akers missed all those 40-yard field goals, what happened with the 49ers? They went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But my goodness, man, what does Brock Purdy have to do? 2 times he leads the game-winning drive down the field. No reason for overtime, buddy. I was even mad that they went for the kick from right there in front. I'm like, punch that thing in and don't even mess around anymore. God.
Don't even
and then,
kick it. Just
no,
punch
and then
it in.
You watch Sunday Night Football. Chris Boswell doinks one off the thing. You watch the New Year's game.
Ohio State
OSU
versus
guy.
Georgia.
My goodness, man, do these people deserve no rights? They're not football players. My God, these games come down to a player who has one job. One job. You haven't done anything all game. This is it. One job. And yet, it can't get done? Come on, man. Like, if you're not making them from within 50 now, what are we doing at this point? But whatever. I don't like being right about this, right? I don't want that. Like, I'm just leaning into the joke at this point. For me, when he misses it,
it's for the brand.
It's for the brand. It's like
Pat McAfee has his pro kicker brand. You're like the polar opposite of that, and that's okay.
Right. Like, it's like, all right, look, it was a joke before, whatever, cool. But now, whenever he misses a field goal, my timeline lights up at Jason Aponte, and they were like, he was right. Kickers don't design. I'm like, no. Don't get on the board now. But
because it's also the opposite. When Gould or Mitch does something well, you also hear about that.
So all right, so Mitch punts from the end zone and he doesn't even put it over the 50. And I'm like, nice punt, buddy. And then all of a sudden he nukes one all the way to the other side. And they're like, that was for Aponte. And I'm just like, dude, I can't win with this. I just really can't. So, whatever. But look, whatever. I like joking about that. But you know what? He made the kick at the end. It's just, look, Robbie has been known to be like lights out from 50 in, right? It's what my argument's always been 50 and out. Because usually the average kicker is good from 40 and in. Right? I mean 50 and in, right? Like that's usually where everybody's money from. Right. The above average kickers and the better kickers are money from 50 and out, which are harder kicks. But now if you're not making those, like, come on, like we've got to find a happy medium here. So again, I'm not discounting what he did last year. I mean, he made plenty of clutch kicks and he was a savage kicking through, the celebrations, all that stuff. We loved it. It's just during the game, the emotions come out. If I see him miss that kick and my timeline goes nuts, I start to get I start to see red a little bit, just a little bit. So whatever. Robbie's still my guy, man. I've been apologized to him. We're good.
That's hilarious. We also had, it's become an inside joke, and we had a little bit of another inside joke on the last State of the Franchise episode when you had posed a question about, should the 49ers, lose this game, or do you think they should get that out of their system? The reason why I want to talk about it is because they effectively did that, but won the game.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? It's like the best of both worlds. Brad had to play from behind. Brock Purdy was behind at halftime. You missed the kick at the end of regulation. Raiders win the coin toss in overtime. Talk about anxiety on anxiety. I know fans were feeling it. The players were feeling it. And that's exactly what you were talking about last week.
Thank you. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, cooler heads prevailing. Thank you for understanding. I wanted an adversity-filled game. And that's why I walked away from this game even happier than ever. There's a lot of people that are talking about the sky is falling. Oh my God, the defense. Oh my God, this
guy
oh my God,
exposed, that guy exposed. Right. It's over.
Oh my God, this. Oh my God, that. Right. I wanted a game like this because I wanted to check this box before the games become like this in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I didn't say I wanted the team to lose. I wanted a game like this. I wanted a game where the defense wasn't playing well. Well, you know what, Brock Purdy in the offense, you've got to score more points now. The 49ers, what they did with this win, some people will look at it and say, man, they played down to a lesser opponent. They're not real. They're not. I look at it like this. Good teams find ways to win games. When your defense, for once, doesn't show up, they've shown up 14 other weeks elitely. Right. So they don't show up once. You found a way to scratch and claw and win this game. And that's what a playoff game is going to be like for Brock Purdy. You are going to have to be able to get your team into field goal range to finish the job. You are going to have to overcome interceptions and times when you're not moving the ball because the team on the other side, not the Raiders, the team on the other side in the postseason is a very good team. This was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And when you listen to the players after the game, I think that's when you really realize that they feel the same way too. Nick Bosa spoke directly about overlooking this team, this was a wake-up call. This is helping because now they know what they need to clean up. I don't know how you walked away from this game unless you're a completely pessimistic person without being encouraged. I walked away encouraged. You have to find ways to win games. Good teams find ways to win these games. Bad teams find ways to make excuses for why they lost that game. And that's what the 49ers did. I was very happy after this game. I was not talking about the 49ers losing. I needed to see Brock Purdy under a little adversity. I needed to see this team with this offense. Can you punch back? I needed to see if somebody puts up 34, can you put up 37? They did. So, I mean, basically, this was a game checking all the boxes for what you want to see in the playoffs. That's it.
Perfectly said. And again, we had a lot of fun with it last week, but I knew exactly what you're talking about. And this is what it was. Again, you don't want to put an L in the win call or, in the win-loss column. You want to come away with a W. But the point that you were trying to make was, how do you get through this season with a little adversity? Like, where you have to be able to see, how does this rookie handle himself playing from behind on the road in those types of situations? Brock Purdy spoke to it as well in KNBR earlier this week, and basically saying, like, I leaned on my college experience. I went to Norman, Oklahoma, and played in huge games there. I went to Texas, 110,000 people in attendance there. So he said, yeah, there were a lot of 49er fans in that Raider stadium. I mean, 49er fans continue to be fantastic and completely took over the stadium. But he did say, and other 49ers talked about it as well, they made their presence felt there at the end, and they could feel the energy shifting. And those are the things, like, adversity, I truly believe, is the best teacher, and it can really show you who you are. And do you run from things? Do you hide? Or do you stand up and you keep fighting? And I think that's what we saw from this team. I mean, the Raiders put up 500 total yards of offense, and the 49ers still came away with the win. Brock Purdy wasn't perfect, but he continually rebounded. The defense was opportunistic when they needed to be opportunistic, and that's what the playoffs are going to be like, right? It's going to be a dogfight. You're going to be, clawing tooth and nail to get these W's, and this was like a little bit of a, hey, little gut check, like you talked about, like Bosa talked about, that they really needed to get off their chest. And perfect for a rookie quarterback to, I think, what did he have, 38 yards in the first half passing? I know he had two touchdowns, but he finished with 284 yards, and there was an interception mixed in between, and he had some, whether it was miscommunication or whatever, he had some throws that he needed to clean up. And, that last drive, you talked about it. Robbie didn't finish it, but he put them in position. And so those are the things that you want to see, right? Like that gives you confidence. To me, I've heard some 49er fans talking about, oh, this game against the Raiders, even though it was a win, felt like a loss. And I'm just like, I can't agree with that.
No.
Like, I can agree with the sense of, maybe we thought it was going to be a wider margin of victory, and maybe it wasn't going to be such a difficult win, but that win felt like a win. That did not feel like a loss to me. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, like, that's the thing, is blowouts aren't typical in this league. They're not typical. This league is full of parity. Even the worst teams can put up the best sort of games. Any given Sunday, Twitter was on fire this weekend, like with this one. I was talking about how much I thought this game was going to be a blowout, things like that. I'm happy it wasn't. But you wound up winning the game, and you wound up avoiding serious injury to anybody. But again, that's what this is going to be like going forward for Brock Purdy. Like, it may not be like this on Sunday, but after that, all of these games are going to be like that. Everything magnified. You are going to have to, at the end of games, most likely to finish games off, are either going to be you on offense killing the clock, or you on offense putting your field goal kicker in position to win the game in that fashion. For him to lead 2 game-winning drives, right? The Jordan Mason touchdown we felt was probably game winner. And then to have them score and then come right back and do it again as a rookie speaks to where he's at. Also, I thought this game was important for 49er fans for this reason. I am glad that he kind of struggled in this game, because it reminded 49er fans that this is still a rookie. A rookie. Okay?
Brock Purdy got exposed.
Like, what? I know that you guys don't think he looks like a rookie, and at times he doesn't. But I think it was nice for everybody to be reminded, you know what? This is still a rookie, and he's still learning. So it will help contextualize the way that you evaluate him. It has gone from all of these beautiful things that we've seen to almost many people forgetting that he's still a rookie, and he's still on his 4th, 5th start, right? And for me, I want to give this piece of advice, and you don't have to follow it. It's just the way that I'm going about it. When people ask me about what's going to happen down the line with Purdy and Lance, all offseason, what I talked about with Trey Lance was, This is a season for gathering information. This is not the season for you to come away with a grand sweeping statement after 5 games, after a season. The way you evaluate it right now, what we're doing is we're gathering information. And that's what we're doing with Brock Purdy still. So that's why when people ask me, why aren't you on board with him automatically being the franchise quarterback? Well, if I told you that I wanted to gather information on Trey Lance and his starts, why would I switch that up immediately for Brock Purdy, even though he has been incredibly impressive? Right. I think at this point, it was really nice for everybody to have that nice little reminder that Brock Purdy is still a rookie. And what we're seeing is something that is not typical. But it should be remembered that the young man is still a very young man in this game, and he's still learning on the way there. So there's a lot. I swear I walked away from this game. There's one big concern, and I think we'll touch on it.
Yeah,
there's one big concern. But other than that, finding a way to win games when things aren't going right. When a team comes out and has a game plan to attack you and executes that game plan, it has a personnel that can carry that game plan out and executes it flawlessly with a backup quarterback, that's the kind of punch that you have to be able to take and then come back. And the kid was able to do that. I walked away with more things encouraging than discouraging. There's just one little level of concern, and I'm sure we'll get to it.
We'll definitely get to it. Let's stick on the offensive side. And I imagine the concern is going to come on the opposite side of the football, and we'll definitely touch on that. But kind of wrapping up kind of the Brock Purdy discussion with seeing that game against the Raiders, and you've pretty much alluded to it as much. But are you pretty confident with Brock Purdy leading this offense into the playoffs?
Yeah, at this point, how can the addition of Deebo Samuel not help? How can the addition of Elijah Mitchell not help? You have the feeling too that Kyle's just sitting on a little something more that he wants to break out in the playoffs, and he trusts Purdy to execute that.
Yeah.
Do I expect it to be like guns blazing, they're putting up 40 and just washing everybody in the playoffs? No, but there is something to the idea that Kyle does trust Brock. Kyle likes what Brock does, and there is a little something more for them to add here. And there is a little bit something that they've been holding in for these moments in the playoffs. So, yes, I do believe in the kid's poise. I believe in the way that it's just his pocket movement is something that's a little bit different. And it's subtle stuff like, dead legging a free rusher and then getting away from him and then throwing the ball away. Okay, that looks like
multiple times a week. It is a trend. It is not an outlier.
That looks like nothing, right? Like you're like, oh, a throwaway. No. That little subtle maneuver in the pocket saves a sack, turns it into an incompletion, right? Yeah. Like there's just so much about the kid that it looks like he's farther past his fourth start. And there's something about Kyle trusts the shit out of him, man. Like Kyle looks like he's having fun, man. Like I don't know what it is, but look, and please don't take this and run with it. I am just basing this off of vibes and vibes only and what I'm seeing on the field. But Kyle feels like he's having a blast right now.
Well, it's not just Kyle, too. It's the entire offense. Like the way they talk about the kid, the way they like even the defensive players, like Brock Purdy, I think, is for real. And that's insane to say about, again, he's going to be labeled as Mr. Irrelevant. That's going to be part of his story and part of his, brand or whatever you want to say, the Brock Purdy lore for the rest of time. It will always be brought up. But let's call it what it is, man. This team, they talk about players a specific way, and they talk about Brock Purdy in a very high light. Like you don't just say those things. Like Brock Purdy, I believe, is made of the right stuff. And the fact that he's a rookie, and I don't think the 49ers have scored less than 30 points since he's taken over. I mean, listen, scoring points in this league is not easy. Doesn't matter. Like we've seen it for years. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Like it's been hard, but Brock Purdy is somehow just unlocking this. Like, and I think you talked about it, his confidence in Kyle, and you talked about it as well, his mobility. We haven't seen the zone read. I guarantee you there's going to be one of those clutch moments, maybe in the red zone. You got to have it at the end of the game. Everyone's thinking run to Christian McCaffrey up the middle, and you're going to get one of those zone reads. DN comes crashing down. he pulls it, runs into the end zone. Going to be something crazy like that. But I agree that they got some stuff that they're going to be cooking up, right? Like it's going to. We still haven't seen everything, so I mean, I'm excited about it, and Brock Purdy does feel like he is the real deal.
Yeah, and then you have all these playmakers around him. You've got a budding wide receiver one. You've got the number 1 and number 2 offensive weapons in the league. You've got a really good tight end. You've got an offensive line that's gelling right now. And I want to let you cook. When we get to the offensive line, I just want to let you cook because I'm gonna just pass it to you and I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna sit back and enjoy the show. But when you look at everything,
why not? All right, let's switch gears.
All right, so look,
go ahead, host Jason Aponte.
So look, real quick, before we get into what I'm going to let Brad cook on, I want to give respect to somebody that no one ever speaks about. No one. That's Daniel Brunskill. Imagine having someone like this on your team that your left tackle goes down. You know what? Throw Bronny there. Your right tackle goes down. Throw Bronny there. Your center goes down. Throw Bronny there. Your left guard goes down, and he has played there the least amount. All right, throw him in there for 50 snaps. And not only does he fill in, he fills in admirably, and he does his job. There's not anybody else I can think of, other team, that has a guy that can play all 5 positions in a pinch when you need, and you don't really lose stuff. I don't understand how the 49ers have been able to find someone who has been contributing as much as he has. And when you think about what they got for him, which was nothing, right? Like they just signed him, right?
They signed his tender.
Yeah.
Right.
Cost them nothing. Them nothing. When you think about the return that they've gotten, it's tenfold. It's literally like getting an MVP type player for a 1-year, $1 million deal. Like that's the type of return you're talking about because of what they're doing. Like seriously. So I want to give Daniel Brunskill props because no matter when his number's called, what he's asked to do, he does it. And sure, you can say, look, he got beat on this rep. Okay, fine, right? Like offensive linemen lose reps at times, right? Like this happens.
I can show you every rep of the best offensive lineman in the world getting beat every game. It happens
easily, but. Yeah. Nobody in the league has somebody who can play all 5 positions and in a pinch when they're called on. But here it is. Jason Aponte, I'm the host now. Let's do this. Hey, Brad Graham, I want to ask you 2 questions. 1, why didn't Max Crosby get off the bus? And 2, how was Mike Mcglinchey in this game, my friend? I'm just going to sit back and join.
Well, Mike Mcglinchey, as we know, is heavily in the crosshairs of a lot of people on Twitter, social media, whatever it may be. Hell, even in content creation. And, I think it is safe to say that Mike Mcglinchey has absolutely proven every single hater that has come after him and his name wrong, because this isn't a 1-week situation. We're going to talk about how Mike performed against Max Crosby. This has been going. Mike Mcglinchey has not given up a sack since week 8 against the Rams, in which the game he suffered 2 broken ribs. He's returning from an injury that potentially could have taken away his entire career just a season ago. Mike Mcglinchey should be in the conversation for comeback player of the year with how he is finishing this season. And the exclamation point on how well he is playing is how he completely neutralized Max Crosby, a guy that Kyle Shanahan referenced as the best defensive player in the NFL, not named Nick Bosa or Aaron Donald. Put some respect on Mike Mcglinchey's name. That man came out with a plan, he executed it, and he absolutely stuffed Max Crosby. Doesn't matter if it was outside speed, set up outside speed, inside counters. He took care of that man and erased him. I think Max Crosby, how many sacks did he get? Oh, that's right, he didn't get any.
I thought they left him in the locker room. I thought that he was asleep in the hotel room and the alarm was going off. I didn't know. I thought he didn't even know the game was on.
People told me that Mike Mcglinchey was going to get cooked by Max Crosby, and yet here we are, and we didn't even know if Max Crosby was playing or not. And so, listen, I think, you and I have been talking about this, and I've been thinking about a lot what you've told me is, and so I'm going to be taking this from you. If you're still talking badly about Mike Mcglinchey at this point, as Jason Aponte, well, very eloquently put, you're just a hater at this point, because put some respect on that man's name.
All right. Here's the thing. And I think I asked you this last stream. Is there a more polarizing figure on the 49ers? Or is there a player as polarizing? Is it Mike McGlinchey or is it Jimmy Garoppolo? Because it feels like there's two extremes with the both of them. It's either you love Jimmy Garoppolo or you despise him. You either despise Mike or you love Mike or you are a Mike defender. I will say this, and this is what Rob Stats Guerrero said on our podcast on Bully Ball. There's not as many Mike McGlinchey defenders as there are Jimmy Garoppolo defenders. I will give that. But here's the thing. I don't want you to change your opinion. I don't want you to all of a sudden say, man, I love Mike McGlinchey. No. What I need you to do is this. When he plays well, say he played well. Mm-hmm. When he plays poorly, say he played poorly. You can't still hate on the guy when he's playing well. The goal that fans have is to want their players to play well. Well, when they play well, you can't say, well, he still sucks. It's just, for me, it's like you have to find a way to not, I'm not telling you to change your feelings. I'm not.
Right.
What I'm telling you is it's very simple. He played well. He's been playing well. When he doesn't, he's not playing well. I think he needs to clean this up. That's all. And that's what it should be for all players. I understand emotions get involved, and you have a large sample size of whatever it is that is backing your opinion. I get that. But it's still easy to say he's playing well. And that's all it should be, really, at this point for anybody. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, being serious, Mike McGlinchey had a fantastic game. I mean, all things considered, it's not perfect, and it's never going to be perfect for an offensive lineman. Again, you can point to, the polar opposite is Trent Williams, right? The best offensive lineman to arguably ever play the game, playing opposite of Mike. When he makes mistakes, no one says a dang thing about it. Like,
we're surprised.
They'll make a reference to the penalties or something like that. But if he gets flat out beat, which has happened on multiple occasions this year, no one says a word about it because it's Trent Williams and because he's earned that right on one hand. And so it's basically you're dealing with competing narratives, right? And why those two players are a perfect example of why sometimes, and I will admit, if you don't actually go back and watch and rewatch the O-line, it is very hard to give a really stout assessment of O-line play watching a broadcast. I can't even do it, and I refuse to do it. That's why if you're in the SDS, people ask me right after the game, how'd the O-line do? I'll be like, I'll be honest, I don't really know. I have to go watch the tape, and then I give you my thoughts and feelings after I've rewatched it and focus just on them. So I understand it can be hard, and we understand that the negativities of the offensive line will be shown sometimes more than the positives, and they stand out more than the positives. So I can understand why people might have certain feelings for Mike, but all that being said, we can also look at Mike McGlinchey's body of work this season, especially post-bye, and just really appreciate Mike McGlinchey and how he's playing. And he's having a phenomenal run down the stretch here. Like he is playing himself into a contract extension. So, and if it's not coming from the 49ers, it's going to come from someone else because let's be real. Offensive linemen are a rare breed, like good offensive linemen. So the way people perceive Mike as a mediocre offensive lineman, guarantee you inside NFL buildings, including outside the 49ers, they look at him as a plus offensive lineman because of what he can do in the run game. And he is clearly proving and improving as a pass blocker. And he's putting it on tape, which is what is the biggest key factor. So I hope Mike McGlinchey returns because it is hard to find starting caliber offensive tackles in this league.
Love that you finished there because this is where I'm going to take it. 49er fans don't want Mike McGlinchey back, some of them. Where's the upgrade? Where's the upgrade? Where is he? Is he in free agency? You better hope he's in the draft. You want to start over in the draft? That's always my question to people when it comes to this. Anyone can do it. Anyone? Anyone. So who? Don't tell me anyone. Because when it was Tom Compton last year and you guys were joking around, that showed itself at the end of the NFC Championship and at the end during the divisional round against the Green Bay Packers. It's not anyone. Look, if you can find a replacement and you have a name, I'd love to hear it. It's got to be a good name.
Yeah.
If you don't think that the 49ers prioritize bringing him back, I don't know what to say. Other people are going to throw money at Mike Mcglinchey. The reason I think he stays is the continuity, right? Yeah. You can sign a right tackle and not lose a step because he understands. Mike Mcglinchey was drafted to run this offense. Mike McGlinchey was drafted for this
offense, right?
For this offense.
Right.
For this offense. And they love him in that building. And he loves it here. What I want you to apologize, well, not apologize, what I want you to start putting in your mind, one way or another, whether you like Mike or not, he's going to be back. He's going to be back. See, all right, it's cheaper to draft someone. Who? And will he contribute immediately? Will he not lose a step? Is he somebody who can do what Mike can do in the run game? I love that idea, but the draft's a crapshoot. And when you draft the right tackle and he doesn't pan out, it's just a draft. It's a crapshoot. Okay. So eliminate the crapshoot. Bring me back the guy I know. Bring me back the guy that was drafted for this offense. All right, maybe Nick Sakel.
Nick Sakel's going to play center. He is not going to be playing tackle.
Right. I mean, again, you can say names from the draft on this roster. You don't know. Give me what I know. Stop relying on the draft. Stop relying on this magical draft in which the 49ers don't have a draft pick for the first, 3 rounds?
That
year anyway.
That might mean something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this about.
Let's just draft the 4th rounder and just say, hey, throw him in there. 4th rounder. Hey, 4th rounder. Get on in there. You got it. You can be better than that. Like, guys, you've got to start thinking about the options. You've got to start thinking about why he was brought here. You've got to start thinking about how good he's been playing. He was brought here to run this offense. Yeah. They love him in this building. They stuck with him with an injury that was supposed to end most people's careers. And now when you consider that with the broken ribs and how he's bounced back, it's tough. It's tough. I would love to hear the name. I looked through the offensive tackle list. It is not good. The free agents, not good. Not good. You are going to take a step back. You sign any of those free agents out there to replace Mike Mcglinchey and you let him walk, you're taking a step back. Mike Mcglinchey hits that free agency roster. He's the best offensive tackle on the market. Hands down.
Preach.
I don't know, man. Like, again, we have to start thinking about when we can separate what we're upset about with what's in front of us and what's realistic.
Right.
And I want to start putting it in your mind that if Mike decides to take a bag somewhere else because the Jets are going to throw him money, Miami's going to throw him money. Oh, wait, you know why? Because they know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start understanding that he's probably the best available option right now for the 49ers. And if you decide to swing in the draft in the 4th round, you got to hope and pray that this win now team can just roll. It's hard. It's hard, guys. It's hard.
Yeah, and on top of that too, like, we can't keep holding 2020 against Mike. Like, we can all agree that Mike struggled in 2020 and it was a difficult year. And, that's where I think a lot of the criticism was generated, and it still lingers on from that period. But I think also on the flip side, you have to give him all the credit in the world for being able to be mentally strong enough to rebound from that. Again, we can talk about the physical aspects of playing the game. At this level, you have to be able to do it mentally. And for him to take that dip and then rise out of that, I have even more respect for Mike Mcglinchey. And I don't think people look at it from that context. They're just like, oh, it's Mike, he's going to get a holding, he's going to get this, he's going to get that. And it's like, man, if you know how, and it's well documented. I mean, you have Chris Forrester talking about his mental processing and how he can be his own worst enemy, blah, 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 blah. He is right now his own biggest winner. He is proving that he's put in the work physically, mentally, to be able to come back better and to not reward that kind of person that at one point wore a captain's patch, had the captains, got it taken away, and is still improving. I give a lot of credit to those guys. It's not all going to be Trent Williams. It's not all going to be the superstars. They're going to have guys that there's dips and valleys in this game. It's the real ones who can come out the other side that are the most deserving, in my opinion. And Mike has proven not only from a physical standpoint he can hold up, but mentally, if he makes a mistake, you're not seeing him snowball. And that to me is the biggest improvement for Mike. And that to me is deserving of him coming back next year.
And I don't want to talk about numbers because I don't know, but you have to remember the cap is increasing. The 49ers are masters of moving numbers around, things like that. I wouldn't worry about whether they have the money to sign him. I really wouldn't at this point. The cap is going to continue to increase, and if Mike really wants to be here, he'll take less money up front, knowing the cap's going to increase. There's ways around this. Everything doesn't have to be under this 1 year of cap. Right? You see the cap increase. Okay, the YouTube deal is coming 2 years later. That's going to increase the cap some more. All the revenue that's coming in. So you start the contract off with a fair deal. And then while you know that things are going to increase, that's when you start to pump up either with incentives or guaranteed money. There's ways around it. The point is this. The 49ers want him here. They brought him here to be this guy in the run game, and he wants to be here. And I am pretty safe in saying that I think that they're going to do everything that they are going to make this happen. They just are. And when you preach and when you think about this continuity, if you believe that this team is a win now team, right? Like, let's just say, God forbid something bad happens this season with the 49ers, right? But you feel good going into next year because you're like, oh man, you're bringing all your guys back. Brock gets another year, whatever it is, whoever's the quarterback. How could you not want that same continuity with the offensive line with somebody who's been here, right? Like, I just, if you're talking about win now, everything has to be about continuity. And the only changes that are really going to happen around this team are going to be departing coaches more than anything. Less than it's going to be roster. For the most part, the 49ers have kept the core pieces intact and the important impact players intact. And right now, Mike Mcglinchey is performing like one. So that's it.
Absolutely. And I think he wants to be here. He has a home here. His wife's here. He's got great friendships within that locker room. He's told me straight up, this is home. Like the Bay Area is my home. So I imagine he wants to be here. But yes, to wrap up our Mike Mcglinchey conversation, the man is overdue for some respect.
He's playing well.
And some love. And it's not just to counter the negative it's based on look at how he's playing on the field. It is matching and he is deserving. So we're going to get into, the defense and all that type of stuff, but we got a lot of super chats to get through. Jason and I have been kind of cooking. So if you kind of see, if we're cooking, I kind of push the super chats off until either they fit into what we're talking about, or we can kind of
breaking the action.
Yeah. So now we'll take our super chat break. If you have any questions or comments you do want to get in, now's the time. And again, for shows like this, we just have so many comments that we can only kind of rely on super chats right now. So let's cook through. Speaking of cook me, DJ. He says, hat, Brad, hat. I haven't forgotten either, but he still says in good old DJ fashion, smash that like button. Let's go 49ers.
Don't let him slide. Don't let him slide.
Don't let me slide. Don't let me slide. I need it. Please come after me. And he also goes on to say, smash that like button for the Spicy Squad. Let's go. Shout out DJ, chat legend. Good to see you around these parts, DJ.
Yes, sir.
It's been a while, but let's keep it rolling. Let's see some more super chats. Jason says, what's next, Aponte? LOL, out here jinxing Rob. Well, what's he talking about?
I don't know. I think, are you talking about Robbie Gold, Jason? Or unless you're talking about, all right. He's talking about Rob Stats Guerrera. I think that's his saying, what's next, I think, or something like that. But if I'm wrong, let me know, Jason. Appreciate the donation though.
Absolutely. We also got Keith saying that was impressive, talking about the kind of offense performance, I believe, in regards to Brock Purdy score 37 points on a subpar day.
37 without Deebo Samuel, 37 with only 38 passing yards in the first half. This team went down 10 points in the third quarter, which is usually death for Kyle Shanahan teams, right? Not for Brock Purdy. And I don't know if this is just me. Oh no, Robbie Gold, he said. I didn't jinx him. I was like, he nails this one. That's easy. That's good money. And then when he missed, I was like, I just started biting my hat because I was so upset. Anyway, 37 on a subpar day. 38 yards passing before the half. And still plays left on the field. A throw to George Kittle where if Kittle adjusts at the right time, he can come down with it. The interception across the field, he just didn't see the other guy. Do you see that even on bad days? And I understand the Raiders defense isn't exactly the pillar of elite defenses or anything like that. I get that. But we hadn't been seeing 37 points, 30 points, even when Jimmy Garoppolo was there, right? Christian McCaffrey comes along, everything kind of changes, all that stuff. It didn't matter who was in front of them, right? Like it could have been a high school team. They weren't putting up 37, it seemed like. But when you look at everything and you contextualize all those things, I mean, Brandon Aiyuk drops a pass that I'm sure that you would think that he thought he should catch. Trent Williams has 2 penalties on one drive that derail the entire drive, and they have to punt from there. A lot of mistakes, a lot of things to clean up, and yet still ending up with 37 points on a day where I think we can all agree the offense wasn't exactly clicking and still missing Deebo Samuel, I think is a huge win.
Yeah, man. And two, like you look at that touchdown that Brock Purdy had to George Kittle, it's up there with one of his best throws of his young career. And he's had a lot of impressive throws. Like that's the thing. His Rolodex of impressive throws just continues to get larger and larger and larger. You're just like, you're flipping through it. You're like, there's another good one. There's a great one. There's a great one. Like his ability to, well, I think it was like a play action boot. He has pressure on his face. Kittle is coming across the entire field. He throws over a group of defenders and receivers on the move to be able to fit it into a perfect. We're seeing things from Brock Purdy that like we're questioning, like how does this guy slip out of the first or second round, let alone all the way to the 7th? Like that's the kind of skill set that we're looking at right now. And if that was his bad game, then I'll take that any day of the week. It's because his bad day still won the day. So all things considered, not too bad. 49ers Faithful says, if O-line can give our quarterback 3 seconds or more, the league average, I think, is, it changes year to year, but it is around 2.5 seconds that quarterbacks.
Right. I was going to say 2.4. Yeah. And here's the thing. I think we've talked, I feel like we're just repeating ourselves, but so much of O-line protection has to do with the quarterback. Can you slip away from a guy real quick and keep it going? That's what Purdy's been doing. That's been impressing me the most, right? Like subtle maneuvering in the pocket, or if the ball's coming out on time, no one's able to get near you. There is something to say about O-line protection and quarterback play that go hand in hand. The ball needs to come out at a certain time. It needs to come out because if it doesn't, let's say it's a screen, then you've got a lineman screaming down the field. And you know what now? You're an ineligible man down the field, right? Like there's something about timing. There's something about being able to operate the offense that helps keep up the offensive line as well too. So I think what you're seeing is a little bit of both. So while we're giving the O-line his flowers, and I think they've done a great job, Brock Purdy has a lot to do with it too because there's no sacks in the stat sheet because he's got a free runner at him. He gives him the dead leg and he gets around him and he throws the ball away. Like those little things are things that aren't going to be, on SportsCenter or anything like that. You watch the game and you're like, oh, a throwaway. But when you watch it again, you realize that this offense continues to stay on schedule because Brock doesn't take negative plays. They're never in 3rd and 17, 3rd and 20, anything like that, or 2nd and 15 and they're still ahead of the sticks. If it's not 1st and 10 and he throws it away, it's 2nd and 10. Okay, still manageable. You still got 2 more times where you can get the first down, right? You got to get 5 and 5. So it's all about this offense has been exactly largely what it has always been. But now there's someone who is really keeping this offense on schedule. Like Jimmy was nails on 3rd down in certain distances. Like I think he was like tops in the league. But now there's no starting it 2nd and 17 after a sack, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13. That's tough for any quarterback because now the defense knows exactly what you need to get. Now what you need to do So now you've got them in a position where it's 3rd and 4. We still can't hand this ball off. We still have each level that we can throw the ball to. Those are the things that I think are lost in all of this. And while we're praising Purdy, it's really probably his most impressive trait is keeping his offense on schedule.
Well, I think even in this game against the Raiders, you had that ridiculous holding penalty on Kittle where he one-arm pancaked the guy and the ref threw the penalty right in front of him. And that put him at that disadvantage, right? They put him behind schedule. They backed him up. And then Purdy hits Juwan Jennings and eats up the entire penalty yards and almost is basically like a 1 yard away from converting a first down. Like they have. And this goes back to the conversation that you were talking about earlier, the confidence that Kyle has in him. Like they have the plays to dial up. They have a quarterback who's willing to push the ball downfield. That was our biggest gripe with Jimmy Garoppolo. Even though Jimmy Garoppolo was having a good season, we were just like, man, he is so reluctant to throw that ball and push it downfield. We're watching a rookie that has brass cojones and will push the ball downfield at any given moment and does not hesitate. That's again comes back to his confidence. They keep talking about this guy, big alpha, like confidence. He's different. Like it's the intangible quality that makes Brock Purdy so special, and we're going to continue to see it. So he's been fantastic. We're getting close to getting through our super chats. This was kind of one at the beginning, so apologize I get into this one so late. Cali Boy says, do you all fear any team in the first round? I'll let you take this one first.
No. Look, I don't know what drugs the national media is on. Now, all of a sudden, the Packers, who are 28th in run defense DVOA, missing Devontae Adams, largely the same team from last year, is all of a sudden now this boogeyman team. Like, look, Christian Watson has come on at the end here. I don't know what you're watching that is going to imply that the 49ers need to be nervous about them. They are 28th in run defense. They can get gashed.
Jair Alexander locking up Justin Jefferson.
That's
gritty
fine.
machine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. 28th in run defense, DVOA. Sounds like the same team that the 49ers run roughshod on all the time. Run the ball right down their throat. Can't do nothing. And now you're telling me this team that doesn't have Devontae Adams anymore, and Aaron Rodgers is not even playing to the Aaron Rodgers level that we have seen, and it's only lately that he's kind of turned it on. Now, all of a sudden, this Green Bay Packer team is the team that the 49ers, now the 49ers don't want to see them. What on earth are you talking about? Now, the New York Giants, beautiful story. Love that for them. Amazing. Setting the culture. Daniel Jones and Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James. Now we're scared, like in their defense. Now we're scared. Like, again, guys, I'm not trying to like puff my chest out, but when you look up and down the NFC, I'm scared of the Giants. I'm scared of the Packers. I'm scared of the Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks. That's who you're scared of? You're scared of the Detroit Lions, who couldn't defend the marching band right now. You're scared of those guys. I think we all agree. The 49ers and the Packers are probably going to meet if the 49ers don't get the first seed. If they finish in the second seed, that's it, the Packers. They're going to play the Packers again. But don't you think that Ryans knows what LaFleur wants to do? Now you're telling me, without Devontae Adams now, that Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, old man Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, now, oh my God, man, I don't know how you stop these guys, man. I don't know how you, what are you going to do now? What? And I would like for everybody to check this out too. Watch some of these Packers games and watch how many times there's throws that he's not hitting Rodgers. He's leaving so much out there on the field. Guys might be running wide open, but he's not playing the same right now. Don't let them beating up on the fraudulent Minnesota Vikings and the Miami Dolphins and all these other teams blind you from who they are. They're still the Green Bay Packers. I am not worried about them. New York Giants, don't care. Tampa Bay Bucks, don't care. Minnesota Vikings, don't care. But they're not going to see them in the first round. I'm just talking about who you might possibly see in the first round. I don't see it in the first round. right? I'm not trying to look past anybody, but matchup stylistically, what are we worried about here at this point? If the Green Bay Packers are coming into this game and this season, the same exact team, the team that can be bullied, pushed around, run all over, and when you punch Aaron Rodgers in the mouth, he takes his ball and he goes home. And wait, Davante Adams is in Las Vegas. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing? Why all of a sudden are we worried about them? Sorry. So to succinctly bring this back to TLDR, no. That's the answer. No. I do not fear anybody. No.
Here's my take. I agree with you. I don't fear any team. Like, I think the San Francisco 49ers in the first round are the teams that I have true concern for is basically the Eagles, and that's about it. I think both the Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings have proven they can be beaten, and we know the San Francisco 49ers can take care of business. In regards to teams like the New York Giants, Seattle Seahawks, I welcome those matchups. If there's any team that I don't want to face in the first round, it will be the Packers. And I will say the reason why I don't want to face the Packers is because they're one of the more likely outcomes for the 49ers to face out of all those teams. And I can't discredit the fact, we'll push back a little bit. I can't discredit the fact that, teams get hot at the right time. And those, go back to 2011 and the New York Giants and their run into the playoffs. No one was afraid of Eli Manning and Mario Manningham, and they weren't worried. No one was worried about the New York Giants, but they got hot at the right time. And what I'm seeing is, a team that the 49ers have historically beat in the playoffs, right? You look at what is Aaron Rodgers 0-4 against the 49ers in the playoffs throughout his career. Hasn't got over that hump. We were at the game together, though, when Aaron Rodgers drove down the field with 37 seconds. But, of course, a big part of that was also Davante Adams. And I do think that is a big missing piece to that offense. But I also can't discredit Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. I really like those two running backs. So although I don't fear any team, if you had to pick one team that I personally would prefer to stay away from, for me, it would be the Packers because they could be getting hot at the right time. And you saw, the little glimpse of Jarrett, the GOAT Stidham, what he did to that defense. And we'll transition into a little bit of, some of the concerns that we might have for the 49ers. You never know what can happen.
Well, the question was, do you fear a team? And you shouldn't fear anybody, right? Again, and I saw somebody in here saying, oh, well, Jason, you said Atlanta sucks. Yeah, Atlanta does suck. Who cares? The 49ers haven't lost since then. They won literally 9 straight games. Who cares? Atlanta does suck. It doesn't matter. That was so long ago, right? That's not the team. Jason's delusional. Avatar, if you want to cry in a corner and be worried about the big bad cheeseheads, you can go and do whatever you want, my friend. I will not. And also, Atlanta does suck. Who cares? They're not going to be doing anything. The 49ers are in the playoffs. So we lost one more time after Atlanta to Kansas City, but Atlanta sucks. So what? They beat the 49ers? Whoop-de-doo. The Niners have won 9 in a row, and they are better than Atlanta. Just because they won that game doesn't matter. If you want to go sit and cry and be afraid of John Wick, Aaron Rodgers, go ahead. Baba Yaga's coming for you, buddy. I'm good over here. The defense holds them down every time, anytime that they play them, every time. I saw somebody in here say you forgot that we beat them without scoring an offensive touchdown. It's because the defense held them that entire game. After one touchdown, that was it. Clamps. And that was with Davante
We're talking
Adams.
About the divisional round last year?
The divisional. Yeah.
And clamps. I do think the weather played a huge role on the offenses being able to do anything.
Clamps. So the defense knows how to beat them. It's Matt LaFleur. They know how to beat that defense. They are better on defense this year than they were last year. If you want to be afraid of that Percocet popping, LSD drinking, Aaron Rodgers, go ahead. The question was, do y'all fear any team? I do not. And the 49ers are still better. I don't know what and what does Atlanta in week 5 have to do with this? Atlanta's going to be watching from home. Watching from home, not doing anything, and the San Francisco 49ers are playing. So, yes, the San Francisco 49ers are better than Atlanta. and Atlanta's garbage. So who cares? You think they care about the Chicago Bears? The Chicago Bears won week 1. Their season's over. Who cares? There's only 4 losses on this team's record, and they won 9 straight. And you mean to tell me that because I said that something about the Atlanta Falcons has anything to do with the Green Bay Packers? Stop that. Stop that. Oh, so the question was, do you fear anyone? The answer is no, I don't. That doesn't mean that you can't be beat, but I don't fear anyone. If the 49ers go out and play their best game and play defense the way that they can, don't turn the ball over, run the ball against this defense that gives up the run to everybody, they can beat the Green Bay Packers. I am good on everybody trying to get the Packers and be afraid. You need to be afraid. 3 weeks ago, it was nobody wants to see the 49ers. Now, all of a sudden, nobody wants to see the Green Bay Packers when everybody was counting them out. What's next? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to be watched out for? Like, what are we doing here?
This is the best type of football analysis you're going to get anywhere. I promise you. It's so good. All right, let's go on to our last one. And I think this will kind of discuss and wrap up Raiders and also kind of push us forward. We kind of hinted on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Tommy said Debo and Huff need to fix their issues. And again, we look at the defense and we look at, again, we spoke about it earlier. They gave up 500 total yards to the Raiders. 365 of those came through the air. 135 came on the ground. I think this was the first time that they had a running back or a single rusher go over 60 yards on the season. 29 first downs. The Raiders owned the time of possession battle with 32 minutes in a slight ahead, and they ran more plays with 66 opposed to 62. So you talked about this last week before it was popular. Yeah. You said you had a slight concern, and that concern regarded the secondary. And guess who showed up? Davante Adams. Talk a little bit more about like Diamador. Are you concerned about Diamador? Are you concerned about Huff and the way he's using his eyes and using his instincts kind of on the second half of the year opposed to the first half? Like, well, what are you seeing right now from that secondary?
Jason didn't put anybody on timeout. My hands are here. I can't magically put you on timeout with my mind, so stop saying that. Anyway.
It wasn't me either. So you got modded, apparently.
I don't. Yeah, I my hands are here. Have you seen my hand go here to put you on timeout? Stop crying, dog, and just go worry about Aaron Rodgers. Listen, so there's a few things that are concerning, right? Let's start with the bare facts. You have a defensive line. Yes, you are on my channel. My hands are here. How can I time out you with my hands right here, buddy? I can't do it with my mind. I didn't do anything. Okay. Anyway, look at this defense. Are you going to attack the defensive line? Are you going to attack these linebackers? Are you going to attack Mooney Ward? No, no, and no. Right? It's Gibson, it's Huff, and it's Demo. Now, if you're an offensive coordinator, you look at how you can attack this team. Do you want the defensive line to get at you? No, you have to find ways to beat that. Do you want to throw on the linebackers? No, you don't want that to happen because these guys can cover. So you look around at what the weaknesses are. And the weaknesses are Gibson, Hufanga, Lenore. The 2 Wards are fine. Mooney Ward had 5 catches allowed on him, 18 yards on Davante Adams, and one of them was a touchdown, which was an incredible play by Davante Adams. I think we know Mooney Ward is clamps. I think we're good with that. When you look at the way teams try to attack the 49ers first, is you throwing the ball in front of defenders, but they're hustling to the ball. They're fast, so you're not getting any yak. Okay, so that doesn't start to work anymore, right? Because you throw it, Greenlaw's on you. You throw it, Hufanga's on you. You have guys. You can't throw the ball in front of these defenders because they're too fast. They fly to the ball too well. So you start to look on film, and you look at the Chargers game, and there's a coverage bust. Then you look at Miami's game, and Hufanga jumps up, and the ball goes over his head. And then you look at, okay, where do you attack? It's those 3 places. Those 3 places in the secondary. And if you need more proof, here's the numbers from Sunday. Demo Lenore, 6 catches allowed on 8 targets for 104 yards, 107 passer rating. They ran at him, 2 missed tackles, a penalty. Rough day for Demo Lenore. Rough day. 2 targets at Talanoa Hufanga, a touchdown, perfect NFL passer rating. Gibson, 5 times charged. They threw at him 5 times. 58 yards and over 100 passer rating. It's not something that is like a fatal flaw, but what you notice is 2 things with the Raiders. They had a game plan.
They did.
That's where they were attacking.
They did.
And they executed it.
They did.
And they also had the personnel to execute it. If the New England Patriots came in there with Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, and Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevenson and tried to do what the Raiders did, I don't think they'd have the success. Call me crazy, right? But Darren Waller's very fast. Devontae Adams is a top 1-2 wide receiver in this league. Josh Jacobs is playing out of his mind.
Right.
So personnel, game plan, styles make fights. We say that all the time. Everything that was there in front of them, they had a plan to attack, and they attacked those 3 guys. So what does all this mean? Hufanga's given up 5 touchdowns over the last few games. I was cool with the coverage bust touchdowns when you were getting interceptions and fumbles. Now that's dried up. So what's the trade-off? What do we do here now? Gibson is who he is. He's solid, right? I don't think that anybody was expecting, Huff's a Pro Bowler. And earlier in the year was dominant. But what he's put on film, everything that you see sometimes when offensive coordinators watch, if you watch and you see Hufanga go on a double move, but they don't throw the ball, but you see a guy screaming up the field, okay, it doesn't go in the stat sheet. And in the game, the ball went somewhere else. But an offensive coordinator says, oh, saw that? Write it. Oh, jump this over the top? Write it. Lenore's been the weak link at corner, right? I mean, I think this was a wake-up call, and I think if anybody was not missing Emmanuel Mosley, I think, right now we need to, wish that he was back, but unfortunately, this is what they're going to do.
Still one of the biggest injuries of the year.
All this to say what, Brad? All this to say that they have one more week to clean this up. I believe they can clean this up. And last year, Ambry Thomas for large stretches played during, big games, and he wasn't getting absolutely demolished, right? So D'Amico's going to find a way to fix it. You've heard Hufanga say that he needs to stop. Yeah, you need to stop. Here's the thing, Huff. I need you to play with your hair on fire in the way that you had all season. I do not want to curb that. I do not want to curb that at all. But you need to walk the line of being aggressive and being disciplined. Say whatever you want about Jaquiski Tartt. Say whatever you want about him. He dropped the interception, whatever. Say that. Cool? He never gave up the big play. Ever. Nothing over the head. Now, Hufanga turns the ball over, so you like that. We do like that. And I will trade off coverage busts for game-changing plays. But now those interceptions have dried up. Those fumbles have dried up. And everyone is noticing it. And if I'm telling you that a personnel with the Las Vegas Raiders was able to do this, well, I've got some news for you. Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Dalton Schultz. Philadelphia, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. It's coming. So what do you do now? The fine line that D'Amico Ryan.
We kind of saw it against the Dolphins too, right? Tyreek Hill took advantage.
Yep. We have to walk the line now, or D'Amico Ryans has to walk the line now of teaching discipline to Hufanga without taking away what makes him special. How fast he fires to the ball, how quickly he plays. You have 14 weeks basically of this defense being incredible. And you've got 2 weeks that have been a little sus. It's the Chiefs game, and that's this Raiders game. The Chiefs game, I'm willing to write off as a little bit of as a one-off because I felt that was a lot of miscommunication. Guys weren't passing guys off, and you know what? Mahomes is going to make you pay. This week, I'm willing to write this off as well, but now we have too many weeks of the coverage thing. So look again, and I will reiterate this one more time. If there's only one coverage bust and it's a touchdown and that team scores 14 points, but you score 31 points, nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. Doesn't really matter. But if you're talking about something that could be exploited and put you in a position where now you are in danger of losing a game, that's when it can get a little bit nervous. But all this to say, I believe DeMeco Ryans, these guys can get it figured out. There's no way that you put 14 weeks of this tape out there for this to all of a sudden become undone in 1 or 2 weeks. So it's concerning. I'm still not at the panic level, but I just need them to tighten it up a little bit because other people have noticed and they're going to attack those three guys because why wouldn't you attack them at this point until they show you that you can't? I'm sorry. I know I talked really long.
No, that was a great way to assess like the entire situation because the next question that I have is like, well, how does DeMeco help? And I think you said it perfectly. Talanoa Hufanga, arguably his best trait is his instincts. And we're kind of seeing teams maybe find an ability to get him bite. And that's football. That's the game within the game. Everything, whether it's offensive line, defensive line, quarterback play, whatever, you're trying to get guys to bite on something and you're trying to go right off the backside of that. Like it's not just like, hey, we're going to run a post at you, stop the post. It's like we're going to show post and have a comeback or something like that. Like there's always an angle to what they're trying to accomplish. So for the 49ers to kind of get back on track in the secondary, is it as simple as just keeping everything in front of them opposed to maybe being ultra aggressive and trying to take away the underneath throws or pick off plays or things like that? Do you just play maybe a different brand of defense where maybe more cover 3, cover 4, or like what do you think the answers? Because I know you are really good at the like the coverage stuff way more
Yeah, I
than
love
I
wide
am.
receivers
So like,
and corners.
yeah,
And that
and
type of
way
stuff,
more
right?
than I am. So like, what would your thought processes be on like how to one? I think you did a great job of assessing the issue, but like, okay, now what's the counter to that?
I think a lot of what is the easiest way to do this is we talked about this last game where the 49ers were around Stidham, but they weren't getting the sacks. That's one way.
Right.
More, a few more sacks stops the play immediately. There might be a guy screaming down the field, but if he doesn't have time, right? And I think that's, again, you have to give credit to the Raiders offensive line. I think that's the part that maybe I overlook is you're like, the Raiders are a mess. They're completely spiraling. They're putting in his backup quarterback, but yeah, they have a pretty good offensive line and they've got good personnel and they've got it. They may not have a good head coach, but they got a guy who knows how to attack things, and he did a great job of.
And their quarterback played like a top 15 quarterback in his first career start. And you're like, that, Stidko. Okay, all right.
He did. I think what it's going to do is going to be based week to week on personnel that they see. I don't think that we can really chalk this week up to anything with DeAndre Hopkins being out. Yeah. Marquise Brown will play in this game. Greg Dortch is going to play in this game. Trey McBride, who almost killed me at the Senior Bowl, he's going to play in this game. You may get to see some things, but I don't think we're really going to see the test until the season, the postseason starts. So let's look at matchups that could be there. The Packers. Christian Watson's a burner. Obviously, you have to watch out for this. I mean, the first play of the season for the Packers was a wide open Christian Watson. Aaron puts it in his hands and he drops it. Mm-hmm. And then what I want to talk about too is like this started to happen too in Washington. Jahan Dotson should have walked in for a touchdown, man. Like again, like because it wasn't
first drive of the game.
First drive. Just because it wasn't completed doesn't mean that it's not there. Right. So Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Alan Lazard, Brandon Cobb's in the slot, Robert Tonyan. Feels like you have to at least shade somebody over a little bit more towards Christian Watson. And I think you can play a little bit more man against them with what you have, right? Mooney's not going to travel. I think we need to get that out of the way. I see a lot of people talking about why doesn't he travel? That's just not how they run their defense. It's not they keep him on his side. Whatever the play call is, whoever's there, that's who he's going to line up against. They don't have him travel. And that's very rare that you see that, I think, in this game, just because from a schematic standpoint and the way things want to be run. So if you look at them, I think they can play a little bit more man. You may have to shade somebody a little bit closer to Christian Watson because he can get down the field, but everything else should feel like you can keep those guys in front of you. Your real worries are when you get to the burners and the guys who can really make plays. And I'm talking about Philly. Let's say Seattle gets in, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I think the 49ers have shown that they can handle that, right? They've beaten them twice. They can handle that. That doesn't seem like something that will get out of hand. DK Metcalf, once you get him a little bit frustrated, he's out of the game completely. The Lions present an interesting challenge. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, who hasn't been playing much, but he's a burner. Again, with them, I don't think they make it either. So we're just going through like these people and how you would attack them, right? But the Vikings present an interesting quandary, right? If you run into the Vikings, Justin Jefferson, Thielen, and Hawkinson. Okay, Jair Alexander traveled and he clamped up Justin Jefferson. That's not going to be the case for the 49ers. So Justin Jefferson's going to move around and he'll probably get his. But
did it?
I don't you know what? I'm going to say I don't remember. That was when I was drinking. So I probably washed that one away. Like I've been off the sauce for a little while. So like I've been thinking much more clearly. Good question, Keith. I just want to say I'm not sure about that. I just know he wasn't traveling with Adams because I saw people asking about that.
Right. He didn't. Obviously.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Right.
So it's going to be based, all that to just say it's based on personnel, right? Against last year against the Bengals, when it was Boyd, Higgins, and Chase, and it was Ambry Thomas's first start, they ran a bunch of cover 3. You know why? Mm-hmm. You keep a guy disciplined, keep him in front of you, and you've got a guy behind you, and you can play zones. Like if you're going to hit shots in cover 3, if you're going to hit shots in zone, it's got to be that little hole in between, like right there up the sideline. There's a place where the first defender stops, and then there's a hole behind him where the other defender closes in on. That's where you've got to be able to fit balls. And for a long time, that game was fine. The Rams last year in the NFC Championship, they just played a little too soft. I saw Ambry way too far off of Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham was just able to just get off and just go and that's what they were fine with doing, like letting him catch that. Nothing.
They wanted to keep everything in front of them because they didn't want Ambry to get beat over the top.
Right, exactly. So it's going to be all personnel. It's going to be very interesting. I think that a lot of this can be solved if the 49ers continue to start again to get back home, get to the quarterback, disrupt the timing, get those quarterback hits. I mean, you see what happens when Kerry Hyder can bat a ball up and Drake Jackson can get it, or Nick Bosa can push a guy into Stidham. It really starts with the front. What they'll do coverage-wise, I think, is going to be based on personnel. Each team will be something different. Speedier teams, you might have to be a little bit more zone. Teams that are a little bit more possession-based and are a little bit more in front of you, you can run a little bit more man. You just got to keep them in front of you. So it's going to be interesting to see how they figure this out. All this to say, I do think that they can figure this out. I just don't think that this week's going to be telling you a little bit too much just because the Cardinals don't have anybody. But too many teams are now taking advantage of it. It started in Washington. Miami was happening. It happened in the Chargers game. Guys just need to be a little bit more disciplined, play their keys, calm down, don't panic, those type of things. And don't get lost in. And again, like even that touchdown with Devontae Adams. Let me ask you this, Brad. The touchdown to Devontae Adams, the 60-yarder, right? Hufanga is staying back. You can see him like kind of playing back, and then he decides to fire. And I didn't have a problem with that because he knew there was guys behind him. But they credited that touchdown on PFF to Fred Warner. Fred Warner got dinged for that 60-yard touchdown. I don't know if I agree with that. And I'm only saying I don't know if I agree with that because I'm not certain what they were running in that play. Like I watched it again. I can make a case it was Jimmy Ward. I can make a case it was this guy. I can make a case it was Hufanga. But all that stuff feels like that felt like a little bit more of a fluke play than it was just like outright coverage bust. So they'll definitely get this fixed. It's just right now, the over-aggressiveness is biting them in the ass right now. And everybody's taking advantage of it. And they notice that, Huff doesn't have the straight line speed after he makes a false step to get back. I mean, if you saw the Waller thing, right? Like all he was doing was peeking in the backfield. And once Waller crosses his shoulder pad, it's game over. Like it's game over. Huff turns on a dead sprint and Waller's still like breaking away from him. So yeah, the secondary is the only part of this defense right now that needs to be fixed. And all that to say, Fred Warner didn't really have a good game either this game. It happens. Doesn't mean that this is what's going to be going forward. But there is a bit of a trend that's being out there. And it's just, again, I spoke about it last week, and I'm just concerned. That's all.
Yeah, I'm watching the touchdown right now to Devontae Adams just to refresh my memory, and you can see him. He sits it down at the sticks. It's a 3rd and 4 situationally. He sits it down at the sticks. And again, something that we've seen in the past with 49ers defense is struggling with quarterbacks who are able to escape the pocket and extend. You got a little bit of that. You see Devontae take off. Talanoa decides to go after the quarterback. I think that one I even live tweeted. I didn't mind Talanoa Hufanga coming up, but I would have liked to see him play the ball more so than going for the tackle. But again, that's just a nitpick on my part. And then Devontae just gets behind the coverage and scores a big time touchdown. So I think we see that we don't want to see a quarterback that can be able to escape and extend, because once you break that 2.5, 3 second rule, then it's like you're playing backyard football. And we've seen the 49ers kind of get caught, go back to week 1 against Justin Fields. The reason why the 49ers lost to Justin Fields was in part not because they weren't playing good within structure. It was outside of structure where they struggled, right? And where they scored the touchdowns and big plays. So I hear you. I haven't been as clued into the defense these last couple weeks. I've been heavy on the offensive film, and I'll admit that. So that's why I like talking to you, so you can give us some much better insight into what the 49ers defense is up against. And I kind of agree with you. It's keeping the quarterback within the pocket, making them play within structure. And it's when you're going to get the guys that can expand outside of structure is where you might see the 49ers struggle even more, because they kind of, it's like they get excited that the play is breaking down and they're like, ooh, like we're going to go after this guy, and they kind of can sometimes vacate their responsibilities, and then boom, they go right over the top, right?
And to be fair, any secondary struggles when there's a busted play and you've got guys, running 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. It's hard. It's hard in this league to do it. So look, again, if there's a coverage bust, appreciate you again, DJ. If there's a coverage bust and they only score, again, 14 points, but you score 31, who cares? I just don't want this to become a problem where it puts the 49ers in a position to push them out of the postseason because they gave up too many plays, and now you're asking the kid to do it again, right? Like when it's something that, like, look, you could have the right scheme, you could have the right call, you could do all the right things, but the person in front of you is better. And I think we kind of learned that about Devontae Adams, that, Demo Lenore was in perfect position on that deep pass, which I'm not going to get in whether it was a catch or not. Like, I'll let you guys argue about that. But Demo was
ruled a catch.
It was ruled a catch. I thought it was going to be a catch just because I didn't think they had enough to overturn it. And I think that's the best way you guys should start looking at it. Refs don't know what a catch is. The NFL doesn't know what a catch is. No one can explain what a catch is. When you watch it on replay, don't think, oh, it moved. That's going to think, was that enough to overturn it? And that's when I got to that. I was just like, nah, that's definitely going to stand. But either way, Demo was right there. Demo was right there in the right spot. So you could have the right play, you be in the right spot, right time, do everything, read your keys right, but that guy in front of you is better than you. And look at Mooney Ward's touchdown. Mooney Ward's in a perfect spot. He jumps a little too early, and Devontae Adams makes an inhuman catch because Devontae Adams is really good at football, guys. There's no shame in saying that. Like the other guy in front of me made a play, and there is no shame when it's Devontae Adams. So, I mean, that's the thing, too. It's like you can say, man, Demo had a rough day. It was one catch to Devontae Adams, and a lot of people don't believe it was a catch. But it is Devontae Adams. And the fact that he even was able to make it that close to being a catch goes to show how good he is.
Right. So I think as we kind of like wrap up the Raider game, like obviously wasn't their best showing, but even in regards to that, both offensively, defensively, and special teams, there was miscues on all 3 phases. They came out with the W. And again, back to last week and all the fun that we had with the comment about, oh, should the 40, like you're exactly right in the thought process. Get this adversity out your system. see how this team responds to that adversity. And they came out on the right side, and they stepped up when they needed to step up. They did what they needed to do. And again, I don't like to give the Raiders any type of credit. I don't like the Raiders. We talked about this last week too.
Yeah, you don't.
You're on the East Coast, so like
I don't get bothered.
I'm in the heart of
Yeah.
Raiders country. Like we like my work used to be 10 minutes down the road from Oco, and so I have I think a little bit different perspective, and I think you did a good job explaining that. So I don't give Raiders credit anytime, anywhere, any place, but I have to tip my cap to the Raiders.
Yeah.
They played a phenomenal game.
They laid it all on the line. That was it. That was their it's weird, right? Like, and I'm not trying to say that they didn't play hard for Derek Carr, but what is it about like a backup quarterback coming in and galvanizing a roster all of a sudden, and guys are just like playing their ass off?
Just a spark.
I do think that the Raiders were feeling the rivalry a lot too, right? Like they were really feeling it. Like I saw some little Raiders party I think that they were having. It was like a metal band, and they were just like cursing out the Niners. And I'm like, damn, they really don't like the Niners, man. Like, oh my God. Like it was like a metal band. Like they were like playing a song, and they were like, we hate the Niners. I was like, damn. I was like, oh my God. I was like, Jesus, guys. But yeah, like they again, there's something about like playing for a backup quarterback, guys are still trying to put good film on tape, right? Because they still have their job security. They still have extensions that they want to talk about. The only way that you get paid is by putting out good tape. So that's why you don't see guys quit, even though the season's over. And real quick, I just wanted to apologize to Avatar. I get a little carried away and everything. It's all love, bro. I'm scared of Rodgers too, man, because if he goes John Wick, what can happen or whatever. But the question was, do you fear anybody? And as of right now, I don't. So.
And to be fair, I don't think the 49ers should fear anyone. It's the same thing we've been talking about all year. The only team they should fear is themselves, because it's when they don't execute, that's when they have a hard time. Like when they're playing their game and they're doing what they need to do, they can beat any team in this league. And I think we've said that from the jump. So I agree. I don't think there's any team to fear, especially in the NFC. I'll say outside the Eagles, because they have a quarterback who can. I don't understand. I don't want to go on a tangent about it, and I don't know how you feel. And this is just me off the cuff. Like, I don't understand the people trying to discredit Jalen Hurts. I feel like, to me, Jalen Hurts has proven he's a damn good quarterback.
Jalen Hurts won the MVP by getting injured.
Right. Like, what the hell? Like, every step of the way, everyone's like, Jalen Hurts is playing out of his mind. And they're like, oh, this guy sucks. I'm like, are we watching the same thing? Like, I don't get it. Like,
it's insane from a value point that he had to prove his case by getting injured.
I've heard people say that actually are like high up, like, and have high paying jobs that discuss football. They're like, well, I think Jalen Hurts getting hurt proved that he's actually good. And I'm like, it took him getting hurt for him to prove that to you?
Dude,
like, are you admitting you don't know how to evaluate football? Is that what you're saying to me? That's how I take it.
Please tell me you saw Chris Sims' meltdown about ESPN on his on his podcast.
I saw it. I don't know the context. I don't know the context behind it.
So all year he's been banging the drum about, or at least there was a take that he had early on in the season, how Jalen Hurts could never be a part of the MVP conversation because he's not an established quarterback, all that stuff. And ESPN keeps pulling the receipt and pulling the receipt and pulling the receipt, and they pulled it again right after this Gardner Minshew game. And he lost it, man. He was like filling his diaper, crying about it, bro, cursing.
I was like, what were they doing? Like,
I couldn't believe it. Like, that was a man who has been pushed way too far. Please, Brad, you know what? If we got a few seconds, if you could like maybe find it real quick.
So it's Sports Center.
No. So I would look. You know what? Let me look for it, and you can run through. If we got super chats, I got you. I'm gonna look for it right now. I got you, and I'll DM it to you. I got you.
All right. DM it to me, because he was pissed.
He was cursing.
I was like, what is he so upset about? And I mean, let's be honest. He hasn't had the greatest takes of. He hasn't had the greatest takes.
Kellen Mond.
I can't get over. I'll never get over the Kellen Mond thing, like, ever. But
got it. I'm sending it to you right now, Brad.
Okay. Personal Twitter.
Personal Twitter. Sent it.
Okay. All right. Let me get it pulled up. So set the stage quickly about what we're about to watch.
So again, Jalen Hurts had an MVP. I mean, he had an MVP discussion about Jalen Hurts, and he said he doesn't believe that he is an MVP quarterback. Remember, he said he wasn't a top 40 quarterback. Top 40.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, he said that he's not even a top 40 quarterback.
Preseason list. Oh,
yeah, I think so. Let me look that up real quick too. I think he said that he's not a top 40. Let's see. Jalen Hurts is not a top 40 quarterback. There's 32 teams. That was what he said. He said to Dan Sileo. Yes. So of course, ESPN, we're in the dunking era, right? Everybody's dunking on everybody, right? And you know
tax
what?
Season every day of the year.
I partake in it. You guys love it. I get dunked on. I got dunked on for Purdy. Cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm happy to be wrong about this, but hey, is what it is. Shoot. And then sometimes you get dunked on. So he came out and he said this, and now this is the video. I don't know if you've got it pulled up. So
I
just
got
pull
it
up
so
you can see. Yeah.
It up.
All right.
And let me know if you guys can hear it. Let me get the sound.
Again, Jalen Hurts makes them better. I know that. And like you, SportsCenter, Instagram, for like putting it out again for like the third time in 3 weeks. Like off. Like really off ESPN SportsCenter. Like seriously. They didn't put it out that in my quote last week after the Cowboys game, but they're gonna wait for the game yesterday. That's why I hate social media and you ESPN SportsCenter one more time. I just wait for the right opportunity. Do they not make content in there anymore? I mean, damn, stop jocking me, ESPN.
He's taking off my dick.
People think you went out to your check. Like this was in the MVP debate context. Like who is most invite me on SportsCenter and let's have a conversation. If you want to really get into this SportsCenter, invite me on. ESPN, you scared little babies.
He's cooking. Look at Bear cook
and babies. Yeah, that's a low blow. Do you think?
Oh my!
We got Spicy Sims.
Yo, Sims was furious, dude. He has had enough. They have been dunking on him for mad weeks, and it's so good, man. I love it. You know what though? I like to see that sometimes because Spicy Squad, all that. Y'all like it when I get all ramped up and everything because we're human. We have emotions, right? We're passionate.
Yeah.
So you know what? I kind of like it. But still, at the same time, dude, like, dial it back a little bit.
A bunch of babies.
If we wanted to dunk on you, we would have dunked on you for this Kellen Mond take because you had like Kellen Mond higher than like Justin Fields and like Trey Lance or whatever, and you had Baker Mayfield at like 11. Like, again,
the Kellen Mond love was just disgusting.
See, this is the era that we're in, right? Like everybody puts out takes, and everybody takes note of those takes, and the bigger that you get, more people are going to want to dunk on you. So it's just if it seems like
the bolder the take, the more you're going to rattle one side
when
or
you
the
say
other,
something like
and they're going to remember it.
There's 32 NFL teams, and you say that Jalen Hurts is not even a top 40 quarterback. Like, dude, you're just inviting.
Yeah,
you're inviting, and Eagles fans don't play. So, yeah,
no. And so the original conversation is Jalen Hurts is damn good. And,
he is very good.
That's wild that it took Gardner Minshew, who is a good, capable backup, to come in for people to be like, oh, okay, maybe Jalen is really good.
Now, remember this, Brad. I was asked to rank the backup quarterbacks.
I remember that.
And I ranked Brock Purdy over Gardner Minshew. Ha!
Tell him.
Gimme. And you thought I was just succumbing to the chat because y'all were frying me. Not so. I meant it, and it was true because Gardner Minshew, he was trying to derail my fantasy championship. He would not throw the ball to Devonta Smith. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? So, ha!
Got him. You got the last laugh now.
Cooked y'all.
Make sure you guys go over to both the channels right here. I'll show them on the screen. Jason Aponte 2103, and of course the SF Niners. Go like up both the streams. We got a good one today, man.
Oh yeah.
You know we're cooking when we're sitting at an hour 30, and we're like, all right, we probably got to wrap this thing up because we could just keep cooking. I'm not gonna lie, I like the little deviation away from 49ers talk just to kind of to vibe on something else too a little bit. That's kind of nice. But of course, before we get out of here though, concerns about the Cardinals. What is just, your elevator pitch take on the Cardinals, coming in last game of the year? What do the 49ers need to do, if they need to do anything at all?
I'm done talking about blowouts. There's no blowout here. There's none of that. Every time that I call a blowout, either the team loses or the game is way too close, man.
Oh, I was like, the 49ers about to cook the Falcons. Chalk it up. I think I went on 95.7.
And the same thing with the Raiders too. I'm like,
Falcons? Who cares about the Falcons?
Me and Pasquini are on the pod, and Pasquini's like, I got them 31-0. I don't even know how they score points. And then they scored on the first drive. I was like, shit, man. No, look, finish strong. Obviously, when you look at it, they're down to their fourth quarterback. They're playing their fourth quarterback in David Blau.
Yeah.
No DeAndre Hopkins. What scares me? This is J.J. Watt's last game. You know what scares me? 2 weeks ago against the Tampa Bay Bucks, that man was cooking.
Yeah.
And he still got something in the tank. So you know what scares me?
He's good.
J.J. Watt, man. And you know what? I know you guys don't want to hear this. Congratulations, J.J. Watt, on an incredible career. I am so happy I was able to watch your entire career. I am happy that I get to watch your last game, and also sad that it's against us because I don't know what the hell you're about to do.
Oh, yeah.
But as much as he is a great player, a better person, enjoy your family, enjoy. You're definitely getting a gold jacket, and you are one of the all-time legends, man. J.J. Watt is a fucking baller, man. I'm so happy.
Yeah, and for all the praise that we've been heaping on the O-line, JJ, don't be surprised if JJ comes out and absolutely has a game. Like, he's still got it. Now, obviously, he's wants to spend time with his family and all that type of stuff. Like, don't be surprised if JJ Watt low-key wrecks the game. Like, I'm not going to put that past, even with how well the 49ers have been playing on the offensive line. Like, he's good, and if he knows going into this it's going to be his last game, I think the team will likely probably be a little energized about that as well. And of course, this is the put it on tape game for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get jobs next year kind of a thing. Like, who's going to,
I do want to say this.
Playing for that type of stuff.
I do want to say this. Buda Baker's on IR. That's a huge loss.
I didn't even know that.
Yes. Yeah, that's a huge loss as well, too.
It
so
is.
the Cardinals are very much limping
Cliff
into this game.
Kingsbury, whatever his name is, his last game.
Last game.
For sure.
So saying all that, I'm done with the blowout talk. I'm done with it. Just execute your game plan, stay healthy, and keep that second seed so we can run this back with the Packers. So yeah, I mean, just it's that last game spooked the hell out of me now. I mean, now obviously I'm not going to be calling any blowouts as the postseason starts, right? Like, there's no more blowouts now in the postseason. You're just going to say,
oh, we do our prediction Friday show, and the entire chat. It was the biggest blowout prediction of the show from the squad.
Right. So yeah, at this point, no blowout, anything like that. Like, just go out there, execute, do your thing. Get out of there healthy. Hopefully, you can build a lead where you can just get guys out of there. Hopefully, you can get guys back acclimated. Be really good to see more Kerry Hyder, more Javon Kinlaw, more of the guys they're going to be asked to, play some more in the postseason, get some more rhythm, and have enough on offense where, Debo and Purdy can work together a little bit more, get through that. So there is some other things outside of just getting the win done that the 49ers need to make sure that they shore up. You want to continue to stay sharp. You want to build up those reps, and you want to build the conditioning of guys that are going to help you in the postseason and help you win games.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I apologize, NorCal Dan. I didn't get to this one sooner. Appreciate the super chat. It says, Brad, me and Aiyuk played at Sierra. What high school did you go to? I went to, where is it? The Amador Valley Dons. That's where I played high school at. Aiyuk is a solid number one. Feed him the rock. Kyle wasn't too thrilled with Aiyuk based on his interview. And you go back and watch the tape, and there was some
That's crazy.
time.
And we're all like gassed about Aiyuk after the game. We're like, yo, he's balling. Here's our wide receiver one.
Dog.
Kyle's like, he missed a block. I mean, he's got a lot to work on. And, he's leaving a lot of meat on the bone and, some things that he's got to work through to be a professional. And, it was an all right game. I feel like he could have done more. It's just funny, like how we view things and we're looking at Brandon Aiyuk like, yo, it's happening. Look at him. And then all of a sudden, Kyle's just like tearing that shit down. Like, no.
Kyle's the kind of guy, and he even said it today, like he loves guys that he doesn't have to give compliments to. He said it about talking about Brock Purdy. He's like, Brock Purdy will take the coaching. He's like, I love Brock because I don't have to come to him and be like, you did good on this, you did good on that, you did good on this. He's like, I only tell him what he doesn't do good on. And I'm like, right. Yes, we know Kyle.
We know, Coach.
You only point out what the guys don't do well. We right. recognize that, but like, again, so it fits, who Coach is, and we know it by now, but it is funny for him, to, again, give a little like, you did the impression perfect. I'm not even going to try it.
But you know what's funny is it's how like deadpan he is and how his opinion differs so far from ours, but it's clear that whatever it is that he's done has changed Aiyuk. And like we joked about it last week, right? Like, we should have seen this jump coming when he tried to fight Greenlaw and Warner, right? Like, that felt like the moment where he was, like, staking his claim. Like, I'm a guy. Like, and I'm not just a guy who's here to contribute. I'm a leader in this locker room. And you saw at the end of the game, it was him and Fred Warner who broke down the huddle. Who broke down the team and all that stuff. So, Kyle's obviously – what Kyle is doing now is something that is not that by numbers for everybody thing coaching, right? Like you've got to be able to push buttons different on different personalities. And he's realized that being hard on Aiyuk, he can get more out of him by doing that. That doesn't necessarily work for everybody else. That doesn't mean that you're not coaching them or giving criticism. You're just not doing it in the same way. And I think that Kyle is showing that he can manage personalities better, especially when you see the fruits of the labor happen with the way that, Brandon Aiyuk's 44 yards away from 1,000 yards.
We got to get him that 1K too.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get it. I imagine he'll play most of the game. I would imagine there's going to be a quick leash with some players, but we'll see. Again, I think the number one goal is get out of there healthy and get the win, lock up your seating, and let the football gods do the rest in regards to the Giants and the Eagles game. They kick off at the same time, so we're gonna be pocket watching that game and seeing what the outcome is. So still stuff to play for. It's not a game that you just want to take the L and move into the playoffs. You want to still ride high. I think we got the adversity game out the way. So just keep improving, right, and go from there.
One more thing before we go.
Go for it.
Damar Hamlin, positive energy, thoughts. Football doesn't matter when it comes to something like this. I've been watching football a long time. Never seen anything like that. I'm still a bit shook up about it because we're still waiting for updates about him. Just remember that there's human beings under those pads. He's a son. He's a brother. He's somebody who gave back to the community. And it's something that I've never seen anything like that. And the NFL absolutely finally did the right thing, even whether they're lying about it, which I don't believe they are. They definitely were trying to start that game again. They did the right thing by postponing it. Yeah, I love how they lied about that. They completely lied.
They're throwing the broadcasters under the bus. Like,
So Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who have been doing this for years and years and years, all of a sudden thought, oh, well, you know what? It's coming to my mind. Oh, wait, 5 minutes. So they never heard that. Yeah. Come on, man. Like, again, if you wanted to put that out, you should have put it out. You got a bunch of bad press. That's neither here nor there. Two other things. Sean McDermott, Zach Taylor, absolutely class acts. The both of them. They were told they had 5 minutes. They both walked over and they both said, we're going to the locker room. Players hold the power. Remember, the reason that this league works is not because of owners, is not because of endorsements. It's because of players. And players understood their power and they did the right thing. They did the absolute right thing. And also, credit to the ESPN people, man. I don't know how they were able to cover that, as eloquently as they did, man. Everybody was in a no-win situation and they did the best they could. But all the focus is on Hamlin and hoping that he gets better, man. Like it's been a few days and I'm still like, shook up. I still keep rushing my phone, hoping that we get, something for him. It's a scary feeling, but it puts things in perspective. We're all passionate about this game. We all love this game. It's a violent game. Guys get injured, but you never think that you're going to have to see something like that. So, yeah, Damar Hamlin, man, get better, man. We're all rooting for you, man.
Very well said. Absolutely. And, just to piggyback onto that, like, I think one of the coolest things that can be taken away from such a devastating situation, like, again, we've never seen anything like that. You've heard all the old football heads talking about, they've never seen anything like that on, the national stage. So to see everyone rally behind him has been one of the coolest things. And it's also, too, I think something that both you and I hold in regard when we're evaluating football is we're evaluating humans. We're not evaluating players on Madden. We're not evaluating robots. We're evaluating guys that have emotions, they have feelings, they have pasts that dictate who they are now. When we're talking about Javon Kinlaw, when we're talking about Mike McGlinchey, when we're talking about these guys that get so much heat and, maybe in some instances they deserve critique, but at the end of the day, it's just another reminder. These guys are humans, and we might not like what they do on the field, but doesn't mean we have to minimize them to being subhuman, right? Like we still talk about them as humans, and that's been one of the awesome takeaways from a really unfortunate situation.
And we think about this all the time. That's why we're so pro player. Like, I don't give a damn if a player wants to hold out, make as much money as you can. This is a violent game. And I always say this is anytime that you step on that football field, you're putting your life on the line. I never would have imagined that you would have been able to see something like that happen, in that way. And it takes on new meaning. So when a guy holds out and he's trying to get as much money as he can, remember, not that this is something that's common, but that man is putting his entire body, his brain, everything on the line and deserves to be compensated, because once this game is done with you, you get 5 years of healthcare and that's it. And this game don't love you back.
You said it right there. It's 5 years of healthcare.
It's an unfortunate situation, but we all hope that the kid can pull through.
Absolutely. And I'm glad, and I think you did a great job of highlighting the coaches. They did a phenomenal job of being leaders in a situation where I've never seen players so visibly upset on a football field like that in my life. So, well said. And again, pulling for the kid. Everyone's pulling for him. Hopefully he gets better. And again, it's going to be interesting when those first snaps start occurring this week. And again, hopefully, health is going to be always at the top for everyone involved. So never wish, again, I think both of us have talked about it. Like, we never wish injury on the opponents, even if we vehemently despise them. Like, we don't wish an injury upon them. Like, we might not like the way they go about their business or whatever, or like them as a player, but doesn't mean we want them to be injured. And that's never the case. So definitely still praying and thinking about Damar and his family, the Bills organization, the Bengals organization, and just everyone who, there's positives to take away from that. And I think that's what we focus on. So well said, Jason. Another fire episode of State of the Franchise. Tell the good people what you're cooking, because I know you're putting out content over there at Niners Nation like a madman. So what do you got cooking, man?
Yeah, if you check Niners Nation, there's usually a new article a day up there from me. Obviously, on my channel, Sprint Right Option Podcast, and Bully Ball with Steph Sanchez, wherever you get your audio podcasts. We only got a few more. Should I announce something? Because I haven't talked about it. I haven't talked about it, told anybody, anything like that.
This would be news to me.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not. I texted to you as soon as I got it.
All right, now I need you to say it because I'm blanking.
All right, looks like I'm going to be skipping the Senior Bowl, guys. And I love going to the Senior Bowl. I love hanging out with my friends, evaluating talent. But the reason that I am skipping the Senior Bowl is because I am credentialed for the Super Bowl in Glendale, and I'll be there for that week.
What? I did not see this. You're
I
credentialed
did.
for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, for Media Week for the entire week. And if the San Francisco 49ers make it, I've already been in contact with them. We will talk about press box. We will talk about press box. We will talk about media workroom, all that stuff. But I will be there regardless of who's in the Super Bowl. So now, can you get to the Super Bowl, San Francisco 49ers? Let's go.
Woo! Oh, boy. Super Bowl Aponte? Let's go, dog. That's freaking sick, man. So, yeah, Senior Bowl, that's cool and all. Super Bowl is what we're about.
I can't swing both. Imagine going from, because remember last year I went to the NFC title game, then I flew from there right to Mobile. I can't go to Mobile and then fly right to Glendale. So I'm just gonna stay here, take care of business, but I'm gonna be Monday through Thursday is all media availability, all of that stuff. So I'll be out there. Let's get our boys to the Super Bowl, man. So I could ask some questions to Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, all of those guys. I want to meet Coach. I want to do my impression in front of him. We need to get these boys to the Super Bowl. If there was ever more incentive, let's go.
Dude, that is nuts. Congrats, man. Like, what an accomplishment. Like, independent content creator gang, bro. Like, so proud of that's huge. If you put that in the group chat, I definitely missed that.
No,
that's
I text you and you were like, "What? Let's go." Yeah, man, you actually answered the text.
Why does that not?
He's not here. He's not here.
Hey, really, we going to the Super Bowl?
No Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. I'm going.
DJ said,
Thank
"Way to
you,
go,
DJ.
Jason."
Appreciate y'all.
Smash that like button.
Appreciate y'all, man. Yeah, and it was something that it reinvigorated me, man. It's got me super excited. And yeah, I immediately asked the question. I was like, hey, what's the chances of getting, a press credential for the game, press box? And they said, if the 49ers make it, we'll revisit, we'll circle back. And I was like, all right, let's go. Now that's the reason. Because then after that, press box, then I get right down to the locker room. Imagine me being in the locker room trying to ask questions while they're popping all that champagne. I'm ripping my suit off and just going to have a Kittle jersey, and I'm just going to join the celebration.
Bro, that's freaking awesome, man. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you, man.
Well deserving, man. You've been grinding your ass off. So
appreciate you.
That's freaking amazing, man. Make sure you follow this guy. If that isn't enough incentive to follow him everywhere, make sure I'm gonna get this down so you can see. Follow Jason at Jason Aponte 2103. Super Bowl Aponte. Let's go. We'll appreciate all you guys as always for vibing with us on our State of the Franchise Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the end of the year next week, and we're going to be getting ready for the playoffs and hopefully get into that Super Bowl. If we get Aponte live from the Super Bowl, well, you're going to be there regardless.
Yep.
We just hope
regardless
it's covering the 49ers. So absolutely fantastic. That's dope,
man. Covering the Berman Bowl, hopefully. That would be incredible, man.
But appreciate you guys as always. Make sure you smash that like button, sub to both channels. Always a vibe. We'll be back next Wednesday. You guys got a special long show. This might be our longest one ever. But always fantastic. Appreciate you guys. Let's get out of here. Appreciate y'all. Peace. That's Jason Aponte. I'm Brad Graham. We're going to get into it all right now.